right, so this is officially my official first podcast, even though we said like 6 months ago I was going to do a podcast. So thank you very much for being my first guest. Could be my last, which is also fine. This is fine. By the way, I know for all the wrestling fans, like, are we cool with you two just sitting here? Like, I don't know how this works usually.
I'm a huge admirer of his work.
Okay.
Huge.
It's weird, right? Because, I mean, but you don't hate him. I mean, we don't think you hate him in the ring. That's that way.
That's an antiquated view of where the business used to be. I hate you.
Right.
Your mother smells. And no, I've known his family since I was 14 years old. His family helped raise me in this business, and I've watched him. I met him when he was a child.
Really?
His father brought him to a show, and he was a child. And
little boy.
I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, huge. I mean, seriously, it's if I wasn't exclusive to Brock Lesnar, I would go out of my way to do everything to kiss his tuchus and get him signed.
Would that ever happen?
I think in the world of WWE and sports entertainment, anything's possible.
Yeah, I'd say.
And I have the same admiration and respect for Paul. He, my conflict is not, he doesn't wear the WWE title around his waist. His client does.
Wow,
that's the problem.
Very mature to be able to separate the two.
That's the world we're in now.
That is the world.
Yeah, it's 2015.
Is there a line? I know, first of all, I can just say, I mean, you on a microphone, it's an art. It really is. And I don't kiss a lot of hiney, so I'm just like, it's a wonderful thing to watch. Is there a line when you're on that microphone that you won't cross if it gets too personal, or if it, even though you know us fans are going to be like, oh, that was amazing?
No, because the job is to get you interested in the match. Last night, I did as part of my promo a segment where I said, if you want to take the title from Brock Lesnar, you need to kick down his front door, take his wife, remove food from his children's plates. Now, how much more personal can you get than that? And I also said, just so you know, Brock Lesnar is willing to kick down your front door, take your wife, remove food from your children's plates, and rename them Lesnar. Now, how much more personal can you get? But when you're standing next to Brock Lesnar, I mean, seriously, I went with Brock to his fight with Shane Carwin. I went with Brock to his fight with Cain Velasquez. Do you think anything I said to him, in reality, behind closed doors, was any different than that? Hey, this guy Carwin, he's looking to stop. When Brock fought Shane Carwin, Brock's wife was 9 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And he is just coming off of diverticulitis. And I told him, hey, this guy's looking to make that baby in your wife's womb have less luxuries in life. He's going to take food off of that baby's plate. This guy's in you. How else do you motivate a fighter?
That's a hell of a motivational speech, and terrifying all at the same time.
That's how you motivate a fighter.
Does he know what you're going to say before? Because there was a moment where I was like, well, I was going to say, because last night you're doing the wife thing, and at one point he's like, turns to you, and I go, oh, that's okay. He has no idea.
Never. He doesn't want to know.
He doesn't.
He wants to react.
It's so much better that way. You have, first of all, the Shield. It came and it went. And then I think we were all like, oh, the Shield. Okay, I'm starting to buy in the Shield. I kind of like the Shield. And then poof, it blows up. Has this thing gone faster as far as a trip for you in the WWE than you thought it would? Because it seems like your rise has been faster than a lot.
I'll touch on that, but I'd like to touch on one thing he said. He's willing to kick in my door and do those things. In my household, it's one thing to be willing, it's another to be able.
Oh, that's good.
It's going fast. And that's what I signed up for. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I love it.
You do.
I love the change up of life. I love to evolve. I'm a human being. I want to experience as much as I can before I leave this earth, and it's challenging. It's tough every single day, but if you're not dealing with stuff like that, if you're not growing, then what are you doing? So it's come fast, and Paul knows this. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Do you like when you hear the boos? Does it do anything? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Does it matter?
I think as a human, as a man, you want positive feedback always. You really, in the world we live in, you don't get enough positive reinforcement. You don't ever hear people just tell you, "Great job, man. You're doing good." You don't hear
social
that
media
enough.
has made that impossible.
Well, and that's like a thing now. Is I grew up my whole life social, you know, and,
Right.
and you know, friends with people and friendly, and I was taught to be kind, you know, to have respect, and obviously there's times to turn, you know, to turn it around and defend and show, you know, why you should be respected. But I've never experienced a situation like before the whole internet blew up and social media. I was friends with pretty much everybody. I was a athlete, so I had camaraderie with a bunch of different people. Now it's like everybody can just talk smack to you at any point. We're living in a generation now. People learn how to talk smack before they learn how to defend themselves, and I'm just very fortunate that I was brought up in the time before that, right before this whole evolution of the internet and
Because we
social
know
media.
that it used to be different. And I don't know that if you're a 12-year-old today that you know that there was a time before this, that it was not so cutthroat. And mean is such an immature sounding word, but it's mean. I mean, I could say it's mean. It's rough.
There's a lot of different words for it.
Yeah, some I can't say.
And that's the world we live in. That's what, you know, with what we have going on here, it's not, you know, just black and white, I hate you. Like, that's not what we do anymore.
Right.
We're so much more complicated and thorough than that. Like, there's so much going on. There's so many emotions that we're trying to convey and bring out of each other. And we have a history, we have a background, and that's the world we live in now, because you're never off. It's 24/7. You know, everyone's got a camera.
Yep.
Everyone's got a phone. They can, if you have internet and a camera, you can put anything on, you know, on the web. So
That's
it's
tiring.
there's no
more drunk fests in the middle
there's
of the
not
street.
God no. Let's keep that to a minimum.
Minimum in
Yes.
your own house. When mic skills are such a, especially for me as a fan, I love the talking when it comes to Monday Night Raw or what have you. I just think it's so good. When it's good, it's great. Because you have basically perfected it, when you hear up-and-comers coming or somebody who maybe has everything it takes to be a great wrestler but is lacking, do you ever help them? Can you help them?
Oh, I try to help them.
Yeah.
It's because everybody helped me. You know, and I'm just figuring it out now. I really hope that this is not the peak for me. I hope next year people look back on this and go, wow, it pales by comparison. And I hope 2 years from now they look back at next year and go, wow, that paled by comparison. Of course I go to all the young guys. The young guys are the future of the industry. And if you don't get the next generation ready, there's no next generation. And a lot of people helped me. I mean, just from Dusty Rhodes to Vince's father to Lou Albano and Freddie Blassie and the Grand Wizard and Austin Idol and all the great talkers of the day back when I was a kid. They all helped me. They all pulled me aside. They all sat down, and I rode with a lot of them in the car, you know, and that's when you really get to learn the business, because it's those 300-mile car rides where
good Lord.
all you do is talk about the business, you know. So it's an art, and it's an art that was passed down to me from a lot of very brilliant people. And I mean, I've no secret here. I've worked with Roman on some of his things, and my advice is always the same: be yourself. Just be yourself.
It's such an easy thing to say to people. I think that was the first bit of advice somebody gave me actually early on. Just be yourself. And it sounds simple, and not everyone knows how to translate that to actually be yourself.
Because it's an industry where you grew up watching people who are not themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, who drew more money in his day than Hulk Hogan? But I don't think Hulk Hogan walks around and walks in. Let me tell you something, Michelle, and Rick. You know,
Maybe.
that was that generation.
Just going down the street,
All the
doing
way.
the deal, yeah.
You know, it's an amplified version of who he envisioned himself to be. But we live now in the reality show era. And in the reality show era, people want to see just you. You know, I mean, on TV, I may talk a little louder because I'm projecting to an arena.
Right.
But that's me. That's who I am. And with Roman, it's the same thing. There are a lot of people, when you're hitting that main event, that get in your ear. Hey, kid, do this. Hey, kid, do that. Hey, psst, try to say it this way. Hey, when you say it. And you know, and I just said, just if you're just yourself, my God, the money you can draw, because he's such a fascinating personality. He really is. I mean, this is a WrestleMania main eventer. Just sitting here next to you, no doubt in my mind. And if if he's just himself, you know, people will sit there and go, wow, that's the guy.
Is it just easier to be? I would think, you know, like if you're a Bray Wyatt, you've got to come out there, and I don't know, maybe he is crazy and hangs out in the woods and does weird things. I don't know. But to me, I feel like, oh, that's a lot. You have to do a lot there. But if you get to be yourself, it just seems like an easier way to wake up in the morning and go to work.
It is, and it's like a truer form. And you can convey so many different emotions, and there's no gaps. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing in between. They just flow perfectly. And that's my goal, is to continue to grow and let people in and let them see, you know, my life, because that's, like I was saying before, like that's where we're at. Like, there isn't like, oh, I'm just gonna disappear now because I'm not on Raw. No, they, you know, like, people knew I was coming here today by the Twitter machine. Like,
And I hadn't even tweeted it yet.
It's
I will.
crazy because there's just so much information, and people can know exactly just about everything about you, from Wikipedia or whatever sites they go to. So for you to, you know, kind of not extend too far from who you really are, it makes it a lot easier.
Do they ever come to you with ideas, whether it be, you know, breaking up the Shield, or you have to do something that they tell you to do and you don't like the idea or you don't think it's a good idea? How does that work with you guys versus, you know, the rest of us are like, oh, I guess I have to do it?
I think it's a creative process.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's like an actor in a movie. If they go to an actor in a movie and he said, you know, I mean, how many different stories have you heard about, you know, a major TV show? I just reading a story about Tom Hardy on Peaky Blinders.
Oh, right.
Which is a fascinating TV show
Yeah.
from the UK. Which is, I think, this year's version of The Sopranos or Oz or what's on Netflix, House of Cards. You know, like the best TV show that's out there. And they gave Tom Hardy something to do and something to say, and he was fascinated by the scene, but he didn't think that his character would approach it in that way.
Interesting.
And he went to the executive producer and the lead writer, and he said, "Listen, I understand the message that we're trying to convey here. But what if we go about it this way? Wouldn't my character do it this way?" And of course, they agreed with him, with one or two different changes to his motive, and it worked out so much better. And I think it's the same process.
They're pretty open. If you say, I don't know if this would work or if this is how I would do it. Because so many of you guys, so I feel like, oh, they're doing so much.
It's a huge creative process, and the way I try to look at it is it's a team. So, you know, and on a team, you know, you have your different personalities and different views of things. And obviously, I have, you know, my views and my opinion, and my main thing is I want to be involved. I don't want to just be given something and been told to do it, because I'm a man.
Right.
And I want to say no, you know, and I want things my way. But as a team player and you know, being involved in the whole creative process, it's not always going to go your way. You can't, you know, do everything the way you want it. And I think that helps me grow. That helps me, you know, the relationships that I'm able to build, the way I'm able to work with people, that's going to do nothing but benefit me down the road.
Do you know early on, whether it be a character or a new gimmick or what is it, not having to involve you guys necessarily, but do you know right away that, okay, this is not going to hit, this won't work? And how often do you feel that way, or do they give it a lot of time to let it finally work?
I think you can spot,
Yeah.
you know, the characters that are extraordinary, that are gonna break through right away, and the ones that won't hit, I think you see that right away too.
I think what's fascinating to me is that even like the Stone Colds of the world, they weren't the Stone Colds when they first came out. So I always find that, it's like, to go back and watch that, and like this blonde-haired guy.
There's a journey.
It's crazy. So you can't. A lot of people just want to give up. Like, oh, this isn't working. I'm going to move on to the next thing. So how long? I mean, how long would you give it? You've had it's been pretty good, right? You leave football, you come over here, you go up the ranks. Would you have given it 10, 12, 15 years?
You know, for my situation, you know, I'm a father, I'm a provider, you know, and that was, you know, a situation I had to look with football as well, as, you know, do I want to hang out and wait for a team and things like that. But for me, you know, since day one, WWE's been my team.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the NFL, you know, and you can ask NFL guys, it only takes one team to make your life. My team wasn't in the NFL. My team was where it's always been. You know, I've been fortunate enough to sit at the WWE table for a long time, and I'm really enjoying the responsibility of sitting at the head of the table now, being there, being the man, being a great provider, being being somebody that represents his family. Every time I show this, I'll take the suit off. Every time I show this arm, I'm representing our island. I'm representing our family, our blood. And that's the greatest responsibility and honor that I have.
Hulk Hogan was on Sports Nation, and he said that you have the bloodline. I said, oh, do you think he has what it takes to be the face? Is he going to be the next guy? And he said, yeah, he definitely does. He has the bloodline. And so, of course, brings up The Rock. Rock's one of the greatest, biggest superstars in the world ever today. And
Right.
what has he told you? Does he give you advice? Does he say, oh, try this? Or does he just let you be?
He's one of those guys that understands the process, that like Paul's been saying, you have to be yourself. So the thing is, whatever you want to do, whatever you're trying to portray, it comes down, you have to just do it.
Yeah.
Because like, you can think about it, you can discuss it, you can do this and that, but when the music hits, it's all you. When the red light's on, it's all you to do whatever you need to do to make an impression, to make a reaction, to leave a mark. And with that being said, if you're able to achieve that and able to ride that wave, humility. Don't ever forget humility. When it comes down to it, the bubble can be popped, and you can go down to square one, down right back down to the floor. So just keep family first and always stay humble.
Did you, when you saw The Rock the first time? I mean, the first time, again, it's like the Stone Cold. It was not The Rock.
No.
Oh, actually,
He had the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually.
Something else.
It's funny. Someone in WWE had sent me a tape of him when he was in Memphis as Flex Cabana.
I mean,
And they said, "Hey, would you like him for ECW?" And I knew his father. I knew Rocky
Yeah.
Johnson. And I said, "Oh, of course, of course I'll take him." And I sent the memo saying, "Yes, send him. Let's start him here." And the next day, I got a call saying, "Vince wants him. Vince wants him on the main roster now." Because Vince saw him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they sent him to Memphis to get groomed, and Vince took one look at him and said, "Get his ass up here."
That was it.
And rightfully so. Oh, yeah. How could you? That guy walks in a room. How do you not? I mean, you know, you
got the thing. Whatever the thing
that's
is.
He has it.
Yeah.
The intangible. It's it. He doesn't have to say a word. He doesn't have to say, "Hey, it's me. I'm The Rock. I'm here." He just walks in a room. Everybody knows it.
all right, I'm going to ask you the one, or I'm not going to, it's not a question. I'm going to say the one statement that always gets said to us as fans. And I want to hear both of your responses. We'll start with you. You know wrestling isn't real, right? And I'm saying it in the stupid voice that's always said to me. What do you say?
Every day I wake up, my body hurts. It's a performance. We're not lying about that. We are an entertainment company. We are trying to better people's lives. We're trying to take them out of their everyday life and suspend their belief. We're trying to create something larger than life here. Is it real? Do I get hit? Yes. I mean, you look at these eyes right here, the scars, the forehead.
I know, it's made you so ugly. How are you going to survive?
I only have so much time.
I mean.
But it's something, you know, and I've wrestled with a hernia. I tore my meniscus. I've had nerve damage. I would, by one of my own relatives during a training session, picked up and slammed from one of my own moves.
That's awesome.
You know? And from then, I was like, yep, I'm definitely not losing that move because it works. But I crushed, you know, my nerve here, and I had, you know, tons of atrophy and loss of strength and things like that. And that's a whole process to get back to where I am now. So it's very real. I'm a physical athlete who's played football on the highest level, and I've been hurt more wrestling than I have in football.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That last sentence is crazy. Mr. Heyman, you know it's not real, right?
And
You gotta do the stupid voice.
I know. You know it's not real, right?
and
That all you say? And? But it is real. Like the guy in the gym said, it's real to me, damn it.
okay, and
That's it.
that's it. See, because that's all they have.
That is true.
It's not just a soundbite. It's their whole argument. And what else?
Walk away.
GFY. You know, come on. You know, it's funny. Because I mean, I come from an era where guys would, you know, you'd get in bar fights over that.
Right.
You know, and
Absolutely.
And we were meeting the governor. Oh God, this was so embarrassing. We were meeting the governor of some state, and I was managing Rick Rude.
Awesome.
You know, and Rick was a salty guy and raised by old timers in the business, and and the governor standing next, and the governor and the governor's staff and the governor's wife is standing there, and the governor says, I'm such a big fan of what you do, and Rick Rude's, well, thank you very much, and the governor says, you know, I feel I can ask you this because I spent so much. I went to college in Minnesota. Rick's from Minnesota. Rick was from Minnesota. Is it real?
Oh, good Lord.
And Rick Rude just looks at him and goes, well, it's kind of like a woman's orgasm. Only the person doing it knows for sure. and he walks away. And it was just the most inappropriate thing to say in front of the governor's wife. Yeah. And ever since then, I always figured when I'm asked the question, my answer is just going to be, and
I am going to use that
hell of an analogy
for the
right
rest
there,
of
right?
my life.
Yeah.
You guys, I may never do another podcast, and that is fine. Like I
so
said.
on the first one,
But this is great.
on your first one, you got to discuss women's orgasm.
I know, and I got the line that will now follow me to my grave because I will use that every time I'm told that. Right? So awesome. WrestleMania, man. I can't wait. It's weird because it's the first main event where I'm like, I kind of like both you guys. So
you're gonna
I'm
be
going to
torn.
cheer for both.
You're gonna be torn.
It's weird. It's going to be awesome. And now I'm going to start crying.
You see, every podcast we put on YouTube comes with this fancy graphic listing all the topics that your favourite Grantland podcasters are talking about. If you click the topics, you can skim around and choose your own podcast adventure. Subscribe to the Grantland Podcast channel to blaze your own trail on this sonic journey.